We're back for another What He Really Thinks. Today's topic is what he really thinks when you're more experienced than he is in the bedroom. Alright, so for ease of reference, we're going to break this up into three categories, okay? Category number one is when you are more experienced in terms of initiating. Category number two is when you're more experienced in terms of the physical technique. And category number three is what I'm going to term the after eights, okay? I will explain, I promise. Okay, so the first one is initiation. First thing to say is no emotionally mature guy is going to have any problem with you initiating. He's not going to think that you're loose. He's not going to think what the hell's going on here. He's not going to be basically like that. Not at all. Any emotionally mature guy. An emotionally immature guy, however, obviously, is now going to be thinking to himself, I've got myself, or he's going to be telling people, I've got myself a freak on my hands. How do you find out if this guy is emotionally mature or not? Look back at a couple of the virals that I did. I talk about what he really thinks when he's really into you as opposed to he just wants to be into you, right? So that's the thing to say about that one. Category number two is all about the technique, right? So if we follow on from that same emotionally immature, or I guess this time we'll actually call him an insecure guy, right? He's the kind of guy that basically is thinking to himself, when you're more experienced in the bedroom, he's thinking, where did she learn to do all of that? What guy, how many guys, what type of guy has she been with to get her experience to that level? And following that, insecure thing all the way to its apex, basically, am I the kind of guy who's doing anything for her because she's so experienced, right? I know you guys like me to tell you exactly the behaviors that guys do when they're like this, right? So I'll give you a couple. Well, I guess it's based all around the conversation, right? And it's more specifically, it's the conversation that he'll have with you after sex. Majority of dudes, if they like you, even if they don't sometimes, want to know that they made you come. They made you climax, right? I have no idea why I whispered that word, but anyway, they made you climax. So, a guy will ask you, did you come, right? So that's at some point during the course of the relationship. But this is the kind of guy who's asking questions regularly on top of that. So I'm thinking about questions like, okay, so babe, when I kissed you, licked you, rubbed you there, did you like it? And he's asking this regularly, have you ever had multiples before? Have you ever got close to having them with me? Am I too small? Well, more likely, am I too big? Did I hurt you? All those kind of things, right? That's the insecure guy. He's in that place thinking these things, right? The second part of what he really thinks when you're more experienced with him than him physically is that he's ready to learn or happy to learn. I put the majority of guys into this category, actually. You're bringing different sensual, sexual things to the table. He hasn't done them before, or he hasn't done them to that, expert level. And he's happy, you know what I'm saying? He's cool, you know what I mean? There is a guy who I guess is the sort of subcategory of that. It's funny, there's this film, right, called Live Flesh, and Penelope Cruz. You know Penelope Cruz? Spanish actress. It's a Spanish movie. And in Live Flesh, right, this guy, the main guy, he is a pizza delivery boy, I think, goes to the house of a prostitute, delivers pizza, and when he's there, this craziness happens where he ends up getting framed for shooting a police officer. He didn't do it, He gets sent to prison for maiming this police officer. Now, just before this mad fracas happened, right, him and the prostitute slept together. She's an older lady, he's like a guy in his early 20s, I think. And after they'd finished, he rolls over, he's the man, and he's like, you should be paying me, innit? And she's like, what are you talking about? That was terrible. Then he shoots the police officer, goes to prison, whatever. The whole time he's in prison, all he thinks about is, bearing in mind that his whole life has just been ruined now, he's made a police officer, blah, blah, family don't want to talk to him. All he's thinking is, that woman said I was rubbish. How can I be rubbish? When I get out of prison, I'm going to be the best lover. And he gets out of prison, finds the woman, and she turns him into the world's greatest lover. Fiction, but, My point is, because I do have one. You should see the film now, but I do have one. My point is that the whole ego within guys can be so controlling, it blurs everything else, right? So he's only happy to learn when you're more experienced. This is the subcategory of guy, yeah? He's only happy to learn to feed his own ego, to placate his own ego. Again, it's another insecurity thing, but sometimes it's just plain ego with some guys, right? Alright, I'll give you some more examples of a guy when he's just purely ego-driven. You know what, let's be straight, we're all adults here. This is the kind of guy who has no finesse to his stroke. You know what I'm talking about. It's like he is drilling for oil in the Niger Delta. He's just going for it, right? Your body shape and the way that you might moan or groan or stuff that you might even say to him, it's gone over his head. He's not even hearing it. You'd have to physically go stop or just move away, take it out, for him to actually